Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another draft league game today. Just for the regulars of my channel, not the people that watch specifically for the draft. No OU live today. Sorry, I just got caught up, and my sister was in the basement talking with someone before I was going to do it. So I hope you don't mind. But we'll get in at least two, if not three games, three lives tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Definitely a lot of exciting things coming up. But now, back to this. This is my game for the draft league that I previously recorded my round one games for. My pool games. In those games, I managed to go 4-0 against Axelraid, Keegan, um, ELMNT 44 or 444, I can't quite remember, and last but not least, Gypsy King, who was a very respectable opponent. And while some of those games are closer than others, I did end up 4-0 with a plus 16 differential. With that, it led me to being the 7 overall seed in the 128 people that made it out of brackets. So basically, there are 64 brackets, 5 people, and the top two of each bracket of 5 made it. So 62 times 2, 64 times 2, sorry, is 128. 120 people advanced. So I had the seventh best record slash differential. Basically, if you went 4-0, then you had the best record, of course. So then they broke the tie between all the 4 people by differential. So I averaged 4-0 against my opponent. So I was plus 16. Whereas my friend Rob Jr. Happened to have plus 22, which is ridiculous. Amazing play by him and amazing display. He's not a one seed. He is the one seed. He plays the person that qualified with the least. His opponent actually went 2-2 with a -4 differential, but this opponent of mine, Cal Draco, went 2-2 with a +0 differential. So basically, the guy who was first place in his group probably beat everyone up, and then the other guys were really close, but he just edged them out. Maybe he won. I think he won a head-to-head against someone else in his group. But yeah, definitely solid player, but probably not as experienced or as well versed in Pokemon as someone like me or one of the other people with the top seeds. So one could say that I was a favorite going into this match. However, it's still draft league, and he has a lot of threats in his team. So speaking of that, let's use that as a segue to get into the teams themselves. I actually made a copy of the Cash Game Tournament doc for my own usage, and just figured, okay, let's get into the teams here. You can see. Can I make it a bit more compressed? I guess that's cool too. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, right off the bat, his team consists of the following Pokemon: Dracovish, Superior, and Cineroar. So, right off the bat, he started off with a potent Firewater Grass Tour. Then he drafted Hippowdon, Alchemy, which is interesting as a fire type, Steelix-Mega, which synergizes well with Hippowdon, Reuniclus, and Conkeldurr. And if you look, he actually didn't bring the Conkeldurr, which I was very scared of, so that's good. He also didn't bring Alchemy. So he brought Dracovish, Superior, and Zenoir, Hippowdon, Steelix, and Reuniclus. My team's the same as before, but just to go through it once more. Tornadus-Therian, Aegis / Slowbro-Mega, um, Rhyperior, Mandibuzz, Sylveon, and Rotom-Mow. So right off the bat, I knew that everything on my team had a decent amount of usage against his team, decent amount of viability against his team. But the thing that stood out the most was Tornadus-T. He's only Hurricane / Air / Resistance with Steelix-Mega, and that could get taken out in with ease by a Heat Wave or a Focus Blast. I liked to go with Heat Wave in particular for this matchup because that also hits Superior without missing. Actually, was initially going to drop Air Slash. Air Slash actually does it as well, but I didn't want to risk Focus Blast against Incineroar anyway. So, seeing his 30% chance to miss, and Steelix-Mega could clock me with a heavy Slammer Gyro Ball with a lot of attack investment, I like to play conservative, so I went with Nasty Plot plus Hurricane plus Heat Wave on Dynasty. Initially, I gave it Defog, but I eventually swapped it to Rotom-Mow, and I gave it Air Slash Last, which is really good because it means at +2 I could kill Superior or Chip Dracovish, under half health Incineroar, under half health Hippowdon or Alchemy, or Conkeldurr without risking missing Hurricane, which is really vital in longevity. So yeah, because missing something could lead to dying, and dying would be really bad because Trinity is just MVP in this game. So yeah, I actually went for the Nasty Plot offensive variant. I've been going with Pivot variants in prior games, but basically the idea here was his flying resists were pretty poor. So 2 flying moves is great, 1 for strength, 1 for liability. I also invested in bulk, which made sure that I lived any life or pit from Reuniclus after sand, as well as living any adamant Fleblets from Incineroar, and also living a Stonage from Max Attack Adamant Hippowdon after sand damage. There was a bit of a debate, however, in this Tornadus-T. Basically, initially I was going to actually go slower because my thought process was simply that he was not going to be running a super fast Superior, as Tornadus-T naturally runs it. So therefore, he'd only run his Superior with speed for Max Speed Rotom-Mow. So basically, he'd hit around 300 speed with his Superior, as Max Rotom-Mow is 298. So I was actually going to only creep that a little bit and go with like 302 or 303 speed Tornadus-T and get greedy. However, the more and more I thought about it, there were 2 things that came to mind. first and foremost, if he were to get any chip on my Mandibuzz, and the Mandibuzz I'll talk about later was needed for other things, then all of a sudden the Superior could get annoying if you run as a quicker Superior with Glare or Substitute. Then I'd be risking a lot of things, especially if that Mandibuzz comes in on a D5 from Rotom-Mow and gets an ability to evade my attacks. So I wanted to make sure I was quick in that, but also one thing that was really bad was seeing as I dropped my Pyria, which a decision we'll get to later. Swords Dance Incineroar or Bulk Up plus Power Trip Incineroar could be really annoying, and those variants can and will run Flame Charge. Because of that, I elected to run an Incineroar that not only creeps Superior with max plus speed in case he went with that, but on top of that, it also creeps Incineroar at +1, as Incineroar at +0 caps out at 240 speed, so a Scarf or more likely a Flame Charge Incineroar with +1 speed is 360. So I go 361, still invest in bulk, and still have well over half of my EVs possible to a lot in special attack. I think it was close to 200, in fact, which was superb. This is really good in the matchup. So I was able to still run an offensive Nasty Plot 3 attack, Tendency with double Flying Stab for reliability and for damage output, but I was also able to run enough speed to sufficiently keep potential +1 Incineroar in check, outrun any Superior variant, and still have the bulk to live a Powdon that was offensive Stone Edge. Unfortunately, I could not live a Gyro Ball for Max Attack Adamant Steelix all of the time. It was a favorable roll, I believe, but not all the time. However, that just meant that if I, say, led with Tornadus-Therian into Steelix, or I encountered that situation later, if I needed the Tornadus-Therian, I could simply switch it out to Slowbro, which could live Heavy Slam or Gyro Ball. Tornadus-Therian did live Heavy Slam, but it didn't live Gyro Ball. So yeah, I thought Heavy Slam was also more likely against for him because Mandibuzz can run slow, um, and it does more to Sylveon, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it didn't really matter. I wasn't going to keep Tornadus-Therian to risk anything, especially with Sand Up. The next Pokemon I knew I wanted to use was Aegislash. Aegislash actually doesn't do too well against this team compared to normal matchups. This is one of the few counters to the dual stabs in Incineroar, and on top of that, especially defensive for Powdown, can keep an Aegislash in check pretty well, unless it's Choice Specs and gets a high roll, or Swords Dance plus Air Balloon, or Swords Dance plus Weakness Policy. I didn't want to run a Swords Dance variant because Incineroar could revenge kill that, Dracovish can revenge kill that, Steelix can eat a +2 plus combat and kill it with ease, and Conkeldurr can eat a +2 of any hit and kill it with ease as well. I wanted to use a special in Aegislash. In fact, I wanted to use a special set with special Aegislash. I wanted to run a Metal Sound set. Essentially, the idea was I'd run King Shield to help stop things like Dracovish, Incineroar, and Conkeldurr in its tracks. But I'd also, instead of running Subtoxic, I'd run Metal Sound plus Toxic. Toxic still lets you hit Incineroar, lets you hit Powdon, lets you hit a Combine Alchemy that lacks Seal Bell, lets you hit a Regenerator Uniclus, even hit Superior as well, if it's not a substitute variant. So that coupled with Metal Sound. Metal Sound means that you can check any non-Shadow Ball Combine Reuniclus. The idea was if you run Shadow Ball, then Mandibuzz actually PP stalls it. As it's a Dark type, and Psychic plus Shadow Ball couldn't kill me. The only thing I'm really scared of is a potential Focus Blast to Shadow Ball variant, as then I'd have to 1v1 it with Sylveon. So I ran an attack on Sylveon later that we'll discuss. Also, could potentially 1v1 it with Nasty Plot Tornadus too. But that's besides the point. So I knew that this would not only help in checking any standard variant of Aegislash, such as Psychic plus Focus Blast, Psychic plus Thunder, Psychic plus Signal Beam, or any combination of those moves that's like Shadow Ball or Dark Pulse, but also it could help a long way against, say, a Powdon switching in, as with Toxic and Metal Sound, it's going to do a lot of damage, or against Conkeldurr or Steelix-Mega switching in. If you kind of want a mid-ground instinct, they might go to Powdon as well. So yeah, Metal Sound, Toxic, and Sub-Toxic was just a bit too passive in this matchup, especially seeing as not having ability to run in max mod special attack means that Steelix-Mega can live too if it's running some bulk. And I need a bulk on it specifically to live Scarf Draco Species Rend in case I wanted to scout that out. And on top of that, I also wanted to always live a, I think it was a knockoff from Conkeldurr with Gutsorb, but don't quote me on that. It might have been an Earthquake from Mega-Steelix. There was something, I remember I ran a lot of HP and then a little bit of physical defense. And then speed, I hit 190 speed for Conkeldurr because that runs out odd as Conkeldurr. And I figured if he's going to run Alchemy, it'd probably be a Combine plus Heal Bell variant or just an all-out offensive variant, so there's no in between. But also, I figured Incineroar would be offensive in this matchup because he'd try and find a way to break through me. So that wasn't going to matter speed-wise anyway. So yeah, I ran 190 speed, then I ran Modest with left over in his special attack. It was only like 76 or 64 special attack EVs, but that's fine. So yeah, it was a bit of a strategic set, but I did really well against this team, considering Incineroar, I made the most of it. The next Pokemon I elected to use, and I needed to use a Mega-Slowbro, specifically was a glue defensively in this game, was Psychic Skull, Teleport, and Slack Off on the Mega-Slowbro. And I just maxed out physical defense. Reason being with one Pokemon in particular. You might know of it as the fish or the Fish's Render, but I call it Dracovish. And it deals ridiculous amount of damage with Fish's Rend to the point where even with max defense, it has a chance of 2-killing my non-leftover Slowbro with a Fish's Rend from Adamant Choice Banded. However, if it's Adamant Choice Banded, I have Rotom-Mow to outrun it and always live a hit. I have Mandibuzz to outrun it and make sure it can't kill me, Tornadus-Therian to outrun it, and so on and so forth. So this, coupled with the fact that once I Mega Evolve, I do wall it, makes me comfortable. I also was there to walk on Keldra as it could live 2 facades a decent amount of the time and knock off just shrugs off. It could be Guts with Thunder Punch, so that would be actually really annoying because it hits this and Tornadus, and it potentially could collect Mandibuzz as well. So that was something I was actually really scared of, but he didn't like to bring the Conkeldurr, which was a sigh of relief. But for that Conkeldurr, I ran Scald plus Psychic. Scald gets Incineroar and can Fish for Burns, and also it's the ground types. Psychic, Netherman, Teleport, Slack Off. So just pretty standard set. Rhyperior, I elected not to bring because it did really poorly against other majority of his Pokemon. In particular, he didn't have one of the electric types I like to bring against, like Rotom, Heat, or Zapdos, but also he had Dracovish, which can kill it in one, of course. Superior, which can kill it in one, of course. Incineroar, worst case scenario, it could be a Wisp variant or Surge Dance plus Superpower, which after a knockoff at +2 Superpower would take me out unless I run a ton of physical defense. The Powder should wall it, barring Surge Dance plus Weakness policy variants, and even then it could potentially whirlwind it out. Alchemy could run offensive sets, or it could run really defensive sets and potentially just be a nuisance, but Rhyperior probably wins that 1v1 more often than not, depending on the sets. Again, Steelix, which is favorable against it, but just slightly. They're both kind of similar Pokemon in a lot of ways. Reuniclus, which can regenerate off hits and do a ton of damage. Use Grass Moves to bait it and kill it and set up on it, potentially if you like Mega Horn. And last but not least, Conkeldurr is a fighting type, so obviously it matches pretty well against it. So Rhyperior was kind of odd man out. I didn't feel a need for rocks because I thought Incineroar might be heavy duty boots. And if it's an offensive variant, then I could whizzle it down with Toxic on the next Pokemon, Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is running a weird set. It's not running Defog on this variant, actually. It's running Brave Bird, Roost, Toxic, U-Turn. The idea was that if he's going to bring Surge into Incineroar, then I can creep it. And in fact, I not only creeped it, I also creeped Adamant Dracovish, so I had 250 speed. So I was able to do that, and I get Toxic off an Incineroar. I could U-turn to break subs of Superior or 2-KO with Brave Bird. I was able to Brave Bird for 2-KO against Conk. I actually ran some attack, make sure I always 2-KO'd a max HP Conkeldurr after burn from Flame Orb. So if it's like a Trick Room, Reuniclus plus Conkeldurr, that'd be cool. But also outrunning Drakefish is huge because then you can go faster than the Fish's Rend. Superior, this is as close to a hard check as you'll get to non sub-toxic variants of Superior, if that's even a thing. But also Toxic is so important for Swords Dance or Bulk Up Incineroar, as not only do you do faster than the substitute, but you could Brave Bird the break substitute when +0 defense and then Toxic later. And if it runs Rest, then I have my next Pokemon with Sylveon that has Fake Tears. It's Fake Tears Sylveon with physical defense to live Scarf Dracovish. It's a 1 in 16 roll for Scarf Dracovish to kill it, but also this means I live a Facade after Stealth Rock from Adamant, Guts, or Conkeldurr. I live any 2 hits from Life Orb Reuniclus, including Side Shock or Psychic. I live 2 Earthquakes from Impowder after Stealth Rock with ease, and I have a decent chance to live a +2 Timid, +2 Jolly, Superiors, Flablets as well. I don't want to match up with Steelix, but I didn't even run Mystical Fire just because it just shrugs off anyway, and I wanted to run Wish variant, not an offensive variant in this matchup, because especially defensive Steelix, especially defensive Alchemy, Assault plus Reuniclus, etc. I just didn't get enough opportunities to use offensive in this match in particular, as he was a pretty offensive team, so he would pressure me out. So physically defensive worked. It gives me Wish for things like Aegislash that need it, and Rotom-Mow, which I'll get to in a minute. And Fake Tears was kind of a game saver in this game in particular, as we'll get to in a bit. But here in particular, it was really good against Calm Mind Reuniclus because you 1v1 it. Even if it's Side Shock, you 1v1 it always. Fake Tears, it's 100% of the time. It lowers especially defense by 2. And if you use Fake Tears, he switches to Superior. It does give him +2 special defense, much like Metal Sounds on Aegislash. However, I could still beat it with Mandibuzz easily. I could still beat it with Tornadus-Therian easily, so it's not a big deal. But just to go a bit deeper on Sylveon and its viability in this matchup, Fake Tears is also really good against Incineroar if it runs a Bulk Up plus Rest variant, as it's not going to run mono attacking, so it's not going to be Slip Talk. So therefore, once you bait the Rest, you can get that off, and then all of a sudden, Hyper Voice is doing 75 to 80%, depending on the variant. It's actually still pretty strong, despite only having very, very little invest. I think it's only 4 ADVs and special attack in his team. So yeah, that's really cool. And it can also be a check to a potential Choice Scarf Superior if he happens to run that and gets like Paralysis or Knockoff on Tornadus-Therian some damage, because I can stall it out. I live a +2 Leaf Storm, and I think +4 I probably live as well. I didn't count that, but Wish plus Protect gives a ton of VP wasting possibility, so you don't have to keep going Mandibuzz, which could potentially open things up for Conkeldurr or Steelix-Mega or Alchemy. So kind of avoiding passive sequences as well. And finally, the last Pokemon I elected to use was Rotom-Mow. Whereas you normally use it as a choice scarf variant, and this team actually made an interesting use of it. Initially, I was going to try use Nasty Plot plus Signal Beam with Dual Stab. However, Signal Beam is not in a Generation 8 games. So this is leading me to think that way. For some reason, I didn't validate in the team builder until a couple hours before the game, and then I changed it. Big mistake by me. I'm really an oversight, but I changed it, and this actually worked out because I freed up a spot there for defog on this. So I ran Nasty Plot plus Leaf Storm plus. Initially, I had Discharge, then I changed it to Thunderbolt, and then finally I changed it to Volt Switch because I didn't really need to Nasty Plot to like 1v1 things. I just needed it to be a pivot that could potentially break through a Hippowdon core. So I ran Nasty Plot, Volt Switch, Leaf Storm, and Defog. I ran Speed all the way for a plus Speed Dracovish, I believe, while HP to always live the Choice Band Fishes Red, and then just the rest climped into Special Attack. Yeah, it says the Defogger is really cool. It should be able to check Superior in the sense that you could Nasty Plot and then Volt Switch at +2. Beats non like really bulky substitute if it's like a subseed variant, and then I could go into Tornadus-T to get Revenge Kill it, or Mandibuzz can do the same thing. But also, it gives you something to outrun Superior if it's a Sword Sense variant. Also, Volt Switch to check its bulk. It could soft check Dracovish if Slowbro's having issues. It could 1v1 Hippowdon and Steelix almost always. And Leaf Storm is very strong against Reuniclus and Conkeldurr with the special attack investment, Nasty Plot. See, that's my team. As for what I expected from him, I knew Drakefish was coming. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a mixed variant with like Draco Meteor or even a subtoxic variant, as he's ran mixed variants before against really bulky walls that resist water like Tangrowth in the previous round. But I figured to keep my eyes open and not like tunnel vision with Slowbro every single time because that could get out of hand. I knew he'd bring Superior in this game. I wasn't sure if he'd bring a Streets variant or with Power Trip, Incineroar, and like bulk up Conkeldurr and come on Reuniclus like setup spam, or if he'd use an offensive variant with Toxic or Substitute plus Leech Seed or something like that. I actually don't know the full array of Superior's move pool in hindsight, so could have been a lot of things, but I knew that I could keep it in check with my options just because Mandibles plus Torn plus Volt Switch, Rotom-Mow plus Aegislash is just kind of foolproof. I'm pretty good against it, but he couldn't afford to not bring it in this match because of the utility it offers. I was pretty much sure he'd bring Incineroar as well. He picked it third, but also against Aegislash, you have to bring it. You're pretty much the point of bringing it, picking it that early is for Aegislash and Dragapult. So yeah, I knew he'd bring that, and I thought he'd go a bit more offensive in this game because I've been inclined not to bring Rhyperior, I'm not bringing it here. And Swords Dance with both dual stabs, they're really against the rest of my team. But my sets are handling it really well between Toxic Mandibuzz and Scald on Slowbro with the Mega, and Toxic on Aegislash Slowbro, Quicker Tornadus-T, physically defensive Sylveon. So I knew it could handle it. I was mainly scared about a boosting move plus rest, which is why part of why I went with Sylveon with Fake Tears. The other reason being Reuniclus, which I was also sure he'd bring because Reuniclus is just such a versatile Pokemon. 13 points, of course, you're not going to drop that Pokemon too often. But to top that off, not only can it run Calm Mind variants, you can also run Assault Vest Regenerator variants and Trick Room variants with Life Orb and Magic Guard. I thought Calm Mind would be most likely, specifically Calm Mind plus Shadow Ball plus either an electric move or a fighting move because it kind of hits everything in my team for mutually super effective damage and it's hard to switch into. That's why I ran Fake Tears on Sylveon, which kind of be counter to it. But I also knew Calm Mind plus Psyshock for Sylveon could also be a decent idea as it would beat Calm Mind Sylveon. It could potentially force a war with Calm Mind Slowbro, and if it's Shadow Ball or Signal Beam or Grass Knot, it would beat that. So on and so forth. I thought he'd bring Conkeldurr over Steelix-Mega and Alchemy. Just because with God's Flame Orb could really fine, it could do really fine damage against me, even with Slowbro and Aegislash. It has essentially to KO my entire team if it picks the right move. And on top of that, I hardwall Steelix-Mega with Slowbro and Rotom-Mow, barring specific coverage moves, which I still don't even die to in one hit. And Alchemy just seems like it could be okay offensively, but it's pretty fragile against physical attackers like an Aegislash that could be physical or Rhyperior. And coupled with the fact it doesn't kill anything, whereas a lot of things can 2 KO or 3 KO it. It's just kind of a lackluster fairy. I think that it wasn't the best pick for 9 points in the fairy pool, honestly. Probably could have gotten a fairy for less points or a similar amount of points, but I digress. I'm not here to nitpick his team choices. He definitely has a lot of threatening Pokemon, and I knew I'd bring a Powdown as primary stealth rocker, and just some sand for potential Steelix if he wants to bring that, and it's just really bulky and good against Aegislash, good against Rhyperior, and so on. So now let's get into the game. He brings sort of what I expect, but it's Steelix over Conkeldurr. So I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be rocks on the Hippowdon and an offensive Steelix. So right off the bat, I knew that would be a possibility for him. Looking at his team structure, I knew that there were 2 routes for this. It could be Trick Room on the Reuniclus and like a slow band Dracovish, and maybe a slow bulky Swords Dance Incineroar. or it could be a screens variant of the superior, which would set up for a banned Drakefish with speed or even a Scarf Drakefish, but that would also set up for a potential bulk up plus flame charge or a Swords Dance 3 attack variant of Incineroar and a Combine Reuniclus. So I kind of thought there were two modes, but Hippowdon and Steelix were constants in this matchup. Hippowdon was going to be bulky variant, probably with some special defense because you live two banded Shadow Claws anyway. Maybe for like max special defense for Aegislash, Shadow Balls, and even to live one Leaf Storm from Rotom-Mow. And then an offensive Mega-Steelix, because they kind of complement each other well. Sand Force and special defense to complement out the more offensive other ground types. So yeah, those are the sets I anticipated. So right off the bat, let's get on into the game. I elected to lead with Rotom-Mow. Yeah, he did have two ground types, which makes Volt Switch annoying, but I could switch moves. I wasn't choice, so I felt pretty safe here. I wish in hindsight I was Wisp, but with Incineroar coming in a lot against it, I felt it wasn't a big deal. He was Drakefish, and right at the bat, he's scared of Wish. He's scared of strong attacks. He knows he can't kill me in one hit. Even Choice Band Outrage, I live. So I actually go for a Volt Switch here. It does pitiful damage to Superior. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, this is either slow with either a plus special defense nature, a lot of special defense nature, or this is offensive Assault Vest Superior, and I got a high roll with that Volt Switch. It's very invested and only did 11%. So I was actually assuming it would be Assault Vest when I didn't see leftovers, but I should have thought more because screens would always run light clay. So I didn't actually think, I thought that wouldn't be screens. Like for some reason, I thought screens would be leftovers, but obviously it'd be light clay. So in reality, I didn't know. But at this point, I was like, okay, it's probably Assault Vest, given that calculation. So I brought Tornadus-Therian, and I was like, you know what? Assault Vest Superior could run Magico to catch Tornadus-Therian, and it would live it with Assault Vest, or it could even live it with Special Defense Investment from this range, given that Volt Switch damage. It probably would roll, actually, if anything. What would have been favorable to him, though, if it had a chance to kill. Really, I couldn't tell the full spread given that 11% damage roll. But I knew that was the case, and I knew that if he's Assault Vest, he can't clear me. Worst case he could do is knock me off, or Mirror Coat on the Nasty Plot. And on top of that, I knew that if he was Screens, which I didn't think it was Screens, wouldn't want Glare, they'd run Taunt for my Defog Mandibuzz and Leaf Storm as an attack. There's no way to run attackless. So he'd run his attackless Superiors. You could just switch all day against it and whatnot. So therefore, I knew that Nasty Plot was completely safe here. In worst case, he would be that he goes Steelix, and if it's especially defensive with attack investment, then yeah, it could beat me, so I'd switch out. But I didn't think he was going to go Steelix. He'd be scared of you taking a Heat Wave or a +2 Fire move, like a +2 Focus Blast could kill it, even if it's especially defensive. So I knew he'd probably go to Hippowdon or Assault Vest Reuniclus here. So I felt the Nasty Plot was free because neither of those Pokemon had the ability to kill me, even with offensive sets. And now, thankfully for me, I get the Nasty Plot off, and I get Hurricane it on the following turn for 74%, revealing that he's mostly specially defensive, maybe not max, but most. And I get the Confusion, and he has himself in Confusion, which is really unfortunate for him. But that damage meant he wasn't offensive, so Stone Edge had no chance of killing me. Yeah, he could set up rocks, but I have full health Rotom-Mow that could defog, and to capitalize on matchup against this, capitalize on matchup against Superior, capitalize on matchup against Steelix, even potentially Drakefish. So I could definitely get it in safely with defog. Also, if he whirlwinded me, then this faster kills. This Scald, it's slower, but it should do enough damage. This faster kills. This faster kills. This faster, but he's left over, so it wouldn't kill. But I could get a Toxic off. But thankfully, I get the luck there, and then I take him with Heat Wave, which crit obviously didn't matter. He goes Steelix, and now I know I die to a Sand Force boosted attack, and he has a chance of living the Heat Wave, but also if he stays in his pre-evolved form and lives it sturdy otherwise, he could also do a lot of damage to me even if he doesn't take me out. And I knew at this point I wanted to be conservative because I have a big lead. So I just go to Slowbro. It's just safe play at this point in time. And Heavy Slam only does 13% as he stays in this form indeed to guarantee sturdy. So it's smart of him, but I go for Teleport. Now I get Aegislash in. And again, I'm thinking this is going to be Assault Vest, so worst he could do is just knock me off. There's no hidden power. It doesn't learn Earth Power or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, there's no way it's sub. So I'm going to just Toxic here, hoping he goes Incineroar. But he reveals screens, and I'm like, okay, he's like a really bulky dual screens rack. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go Rotom-Mow, and I'm going to try and defog in his face. And if he doesn't, that also wastes turn, and it takes Toxic. So I forced him to show his hand. It wasn't indeed Taunt. That's fine, because now what I can do here is I can Volt Switches. I don't think he's going to go Steelix, because that would have been progress with it. And I'm like, okay. So it's a bit more of an offensive Incineroar, given that damage, but not fully offensive. So I'm thinking with the screen setup, it's almost definitely going to be Power Trip plus Bulk Up plus Flame Charge. So like the full set would be Flame Charge, Bulk Up, Power Trip, Flame Charge, Bulk Up, Power Trip. What else? And probably like, I want to say Drain Punch. It could in theory be Flare Blitz, but one thing that would worst case scenario would be rest. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I knew I wanted to get Toxic off on this. So that's why I Volt Switched immediately as predicting to come in. And he didn't expect me to probably be Toxic, let alone quicker. He probably expected me to defog the screens away. So he goes for a Flame Charge right off the bat. And yeah, crits for 23%. That reveals he has some attack investment, but not full. Or at least not full adamant, I believe, unless he got an absolute min roll. So now he goes for the bulk up quicker. I'm like, okay. So Sylveon always lives a +2 Flare Blitz, which I really was almost certain he wasn't the last move Flare Blitz on this. Um, just because Drain Punch or Superpower would be really cool for Rhyperior, but also Rest would make more sense. So what I did was I go to this, and I know I always live, even if it's easy Flare Blitz, I always live +1 Flare Blitz with ease. So what I can do here is I could Wish off comfortably. He's going to force Stick Poison, and it's going to get closer to Rest if it is Rest, which is the worst case scenario. And now at +2, I live it like almost always, given his attack investment before. He probably isn't even max attack, or if he could be adamant with much less than max attack, but also it's worst case scenario. He could just not have much attack at all. So I know worst case scenario, Flare Blitz is a very favorable role for me because I'm max defense. So I think Tears knowing that if he goes for that, he's going to probably die between that and recoil. So I need to play for Rest, which is the worst case scenario because I don't want to have a lose condition, basically. I always want to have outs against it. So if he is Rest, then I don't want to give him a Rest for nothing and just protect. I want to fake Tears because then Hyper Voice could do enough to 2-KO even if he's got the most specially defensive spread possible. Um, After I get a couple fake Tears off, even with screen stay up, which you're only going to stay up for a couple more turns. So I go to fake Tears, he bulks up again, which is really bad of him because he dies the poison next turn. So I'm like, okay, I'm sure for a fact he's Rest here, but I can't risk Power Trip anyway, just because if it crits, then it could potentially take me out. I actually think a crit didn't even get me out there, so it's a bit of overly conservative attack, but he revealed the Power Trip without showing his fourth move. It wasn't Rest, so I got out of that free, and this is why he shouldn't have clicked bulk up, or really just set it up this way in general, but I don't think there was really any openings with both the Angel/Slash and Demand Balls having Toxic, Slowbro having Scald, Rotom having Nasty Plot. He probably could have set up on Torn, hoping for like Air/Mishes and not getting flinched and whatnot behind screens, but I was never going to Torn against it, so basically I suffocated him, and he was unable to make use of his win condition there. Now he gets Drew Nicholas, but he's already seen I fake Tears, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's like Life Orb Side Shock, trying to break through me, not knowing my spread. So I go for Hyper Voice first to try to get damage, fish it out. He Calm Minds here. He's not leftover, so I'm like, okay, it's probably Life Orb Calm Mind. That could be it, or it could be a Casted Berry variant, which would make a ton of sense because I have Aegislash in my team. So I go Fake Tears twice after I get that first damage off, and he gets 3 Calm Minds up for some reason instead of 2. When Side Shock would have been a roll to kill me at +2, as you see there, it would have been a favorable one. I could have protected, but he could have recovered, and then I just took it out with Hyper Voice after getting those Fake Tears off. So I don't know, he just gave me it for some reason instead of going to Dracovish to try to kill me with a Bandit, as we'll see in a minute, Feacious Rend, or to Steelix to threaten me out. So he gave me his Incineroar for nothing, basically, and the Reuniclus was really rushed for some unknown reason when I already revealed Fake Tears. So I feel like I've got a huge advantage at this point. And seeing as this isn't the first round, differential doesn't actually matter. So therefore, I knew that I wanted to make sure I had a 100% win path because winning is all that mattered. It doesn't matter if I win 4-0 or 6-0 or 1-0 as long as I win the battle. So what I did here was instead of risking the Slowbro or the Rotom-Mow to potential like Crunch on Slowbro or Ice Fang on Rotom-Mow or Outrage on Rotom-Mow, I just stayed in here and I let it die because also the one thing I could lose to from this really big advantage, which would still take a lot of bad luck, would be Substitute plus Metronome Dracovish. If he subs here into Protect and kills me. So what I did here is a Hyper Voice to prevent that as the lose condition. And thanks to these things don't get out of hand, it just kills me with Feacious Rend. Yeah, I do lose a Pokemon in the game. I could have 6-0'd probably, but the differential doesn't matter. I Volt Switch here and he stays in, but that's fine because that means he's banded. So I always live 2 hits against banded if I Mega for the second one. And Psychic is really good against him because this is weakened and toxic, so it kills almost definitely from Mega after Psychic. And this can't break me after Feacious Rend damage in this. If I take the Mega Psychic damage, yeah, potentially 3 kill me if it gets good rolls against the Mega Bro, but the Rotom-Mow then could Volt Switch against it, or this could take it out with Air Slash, or this could take it out with Brave Bird after that Psychic damage. So I knew it could flinch that. However, he crits me here. So I'm like, okay, that is fine. I'm going to go back to Rotom-Mow. I'm EV to live this in particular. It revealed Admin Ban given that damage. That was fine. And now I'm just going to Leaf Storm to force damage on it. And even if I missed Leaf Storm there, I just didn't want to Volt Switch because this is the Pokemon I wanted to die here. I didn't want to risk anything else because that would let me just say, okay, I could get a Brave Bird against it, 2 kill to Dracovish, and he'd be slower, so the Fish Rend would do less. Or I could go back to Bro, heal up, and then Mega Evolve and just get the same Psychic off. Or I could go to this and I could King Shield or this and Air Slash. And yeah, this is the risk of chance missing, so I probably would have just Mana Buzz. But it felt pretty foolproof. Sorry, I just got to reset this real quick. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Lee Storm there was foolproof. Yeah, had his chance of missing, and that would have sucked. But I still would have been in the winning position. I basically was just fighting 100% path, and that involved using a 95% move to get into the Pokemon with 100% move without risking it. If that makes sense. So I got that off there, and I actually did 60%, which was a mid roll. That's fine. I needed a max roll to kill probably. Also, it was an HP investment. I don't know if he did or not. I didn't actually calc that. Then I get a U-turn off as it was in U-turn range and I'm quicker. I get Slowbro in against the Steelix, and now I just hard switch out, seeing what he'd do. Um, I went Tornadus-T, just get some regenerator for potential fishes later on. And he reveals Heavy Slam, but he's not max attack. Or he is max attack, actually, Gyro Ball chance of killing him, not Heavy Slam, and he caps out at 120, so that is max attack Steelix, never mind. So it's a very offensive Steelix. As you see from that Heat Wave damage doing 60, and then the second one takes it out, and now I could just win here with Air Slash if I connect. So I connect with the first one, and to finish the game off, I connect with the second one. He complains about Hurricane being 50% insane and me hitting it when it's actually 70%, which a little funny bit in the chat. But he's like, oh yeah, I was wrong, my bad. He actually PM'd me after the game. Really nice dude, Cal Draco. Wish me good luck. So hey, thank you to Cal Draco for a good competitive game. I emerged victorious 4-0, and good luck to you in other tournaments and other draft settings as well. Really, it was a pleasure playing you, and looking forward to my next game, which will be probably later this week as they're only 4-day rounds. So I hope you enjoyed this in-depth analysis on my team and the game itself. I'm gonna upload it now, post it in the server, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed. It's been lit. It's Finch. Peace.